You called the updates to the Electoral Count Act, quote, an important step to ensure we strengthen our democracy and the presidential certification process. Help us understand what these reforms are.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on, Jonathan. Happy holidays to you. Just like with so many other areas of our democracy, the Trump presidency was like a stress test for our systems. And we found where there were gaps or things that needed to be clarified. In this case, we had a law from 1887 that had some terms that were vague or were open to interpretation and that needed to be clarified, basically. Now, some of them you might say unnecessary to clarify, like the fact that the vice president can't just declare who the winner of the election was. But we went ahead and did that. But I think really importantly, it raises the threshold to lodge an objection. The old law, the 1887 law, was that if one member of the House and one member of the Senate objected to a state certification, then we would have to go to a joint session. But that raised it now to 1/5 of both members of both the House and the Senate. I think that's really important.
In a recent interview, your colleague, Congressman Jamie Raskin, who served on the January 6th committee, called the reforms, quote, necessary but not remotely sufficient. What's your response to that? What more could be done?
I love Jamie. And, I think what Jamie's saying there is that this is not it. This is not where we can end, that we're not safe now that we've passed this reform to the January 6th process or to the counting of the Electoral Count Act votes. Our work is not done here, because the next attempt to overthrow an American presidential election is going to look different than the last one. In the next case, Jonathan, Kamala Harris is going to be sitting in the vice presidency, regardless of who the winner of that election is. So obviously, it's not going to have the same context around it. And we need to be aware of what's happening in the states, like my state here in Texas, where you're passing voter suppression laws that are making it more difficult for us to have an accurate reflection of our electorate, and other creative attacks that they're going to find to try and attack our democracy. So we have to be prepared for that. I think that's what Jamie's saying, is that just because we pass this doesn't mean that we're out of the woods.
Let me play you comments from Republican Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell in regards to the Electoral Count Act.
Congress process for counting the presidential electors' votes was written 135 years ago. The chaos that came to a head on January 6th of last year certainly underscored the need for an update.
9 Republicans in the House, 18 Republicans in the Senate ultimately supported this legislation. President Trump, of course, has condemned McConnell and those Republicans for supporting it. And I'm just wondering, might Trump's grip on the Republican Party be weakening?
I've learned not to really comment too much on Trump's grip on the Republican Party. I think that there are certainly senators, in particular Republican senators, who know how dangerous Trump and Trumpism is, not only to our democracy, but also to their political prospects, Jonathan. And we have to continue to remember this. In the last 3 American elections, we have rejected Trump or Trumpism, from 2018 to 2020, and now in 2022, where we had a historic overperformance for the party in power. And so Mitch McConnell knows that as well. I don't want to, assign too much in terms of, him having an awakening on who Trump is all of a sudden. I think he's always known who Trump is. But I also think he's seeing the election results and saying, hey, listen, we lost Georgia, we lost Pennsylvania, the governor in Wisconsin got reelected. They're looking at these results and saying that's going to make it hard for us to ever be able to hold power.
We lost Georgia twice. It's what Mitch McConnell is thinking. Congressman Colin Allred of Texas, as always, thank you for coming to The Last Word.